Now, the most live, local talk with Live from the state capitol with Fred Dicker. Fred is the state editor for the New York Post and a political analyst for Channel 6 News. Fred's show comes to you live every Monday through Friday from the New York Post Media Center located on the third floor of the state capitol. Now, Fred Dicker on Talk 1300.
The state capitol, one of the hottest races, if not the hottest race in the Capital District, is up in Saratoga County, where there's a real tough and interesting primary in the Republican Party's primary. Well, when I had Jeff Gildersleeve on, he said the problem he thought was heroin addiction that was spreading badly, a lack of high-quality technology in the sheriff's department, which he alleges is outdated, doesn't even have the most basic kinds of internet connections, and also hostility from Albany towards the Second Amendment in the form of the Governor's SAFE Act. What about those as priorities for you?
With the SAFE Act, I'm totally against it. I will not do Governor Cuomo's dirty work. That's be a small part of what I have to do as sheriff.
Yeah. What does that mean? You wouldn't enforce the law?
No. What I'm saying is that I'm not going to do his dirty work.
What does that mean, though, do his dirty work? I mean, it's the law of the state.
Absolutely, and I take an oath to look as the top law enforcement officer. If we come across situations, I'll use the common sense approach.
But what does it mean not to do his dirty work? What are you thinking of when you say that?
The laws that he came up with in regards to the SAFE Act.
What about the laws? Well, the SAFE Act is the law.
Correct.
So when you say not to do his dirty work, does that mean you won't enforce the law, or that you will enforce it, but with difficulty because you're against it?
With difficulty, we'll look at each case as it comes across.
But do you think it's a serious problem, a growing problem, or is it not? Is it kind of stable?
I think it's stable,
okay.
Fred. I really do. Based on the information that I hear and from the guys that work in the unit. And we also work with Jim Murphy and his task force and the Capital District Drug Abuse Task Force.
Oh, I understand that.
Yep.
How about fair enough. Just as one last related question, where do you stand on gun rights? I mean, you say you're opposed to the governor's so-called SAFE Act. Are you an NRA member, for instance?
I am. Yes.
When did you join?
Probably 4 months ago. Yep.
4 months ago?
Yeah.
When you were about to run for office?
Correct.
Why had you not joined before then?
I'm not a hunter. I don't, have a gun, so I joined to see what their organization is all about.
You don't have a gun? You're a police officer?
That's correct.
Oh, you were one. You're described, I think, on your resume as a senior chief investigator, having been a senior chief investigator in the department, and they have claimed that there's no such title, and also that you were a lieutenant in the sheriff's department. And the claim was that, to me, is that you never really were a lieutenant. You were an acting lieutenant, and that you hadn't gotten the civil service approval to be lieutenant for whatever reason. Are either of those allegations against you correct, that in fact there's no such title as senior chief investigator or chief investigator?
There was a senior investigator's position that the sheriff designated for me to be, the same as the state police senior investigator as my opponent, and I was in charge of this investigation unit, signed cases, handled all the major crimes and incidences, and basically ran the investigation unit. And
how about the claim about being a lieutenant?
I was a provisional lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department for, I believe, a year and a half.
Okay, yeah. Well, you were a lieutenant. Why was it provisional? Why wasn't it ever made permanent?
Because of civil service testing.
You didn't pass the
Correct.
test?
That's correct.
Okay, fair enough. Why would you try to deny Republican voters the right to have a decision, right to have a opportunity to decide who their party's nominee should be, merely on the basis of someone putting their name down spelled in a way that generally he isn't known as? Why did you decide to do that?
That's part of the process.
It doesn't have to be. It's not required.
Correct.
As are the disappearance of his signs. He's saying 300 signs have been stolen. Now, that always goes on. It's an awful thing to do. I've seen campaigns on both sides of primaries and generals do it. It's disgusting. Do your people have any knowledge of who's involved with this, assuming it's even happening?
I don't, Fred.
But one theme that was mentioned was the alleged lack of debates. Have there been any debates with your opponent?
No. One was scheduled with the Saratogian. It just couldn't fit into our schedule.
But isn't that something that should have been a top priority for the public to see you two together? Why couldn't you fit it in? What was going on?
Because we had other commitments, and it was...
What were they? Are you ready to debate them now? Would there be debates before the primary?
I think my schedule's booked right up until being.
So you're refusing to debate
I'm
them?
not refusing.
Look, you can change a schedule.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's an old trick of politicians. I'm too busy to debate. Isn't a debate something that should be of the highest priority?
Absolutely.
So why not clear your schedule to do it?
And we'll look into it.
What does that mean?
We'll see.
You're going to do it or not?
We'll see what
So you won't commit? I mean, now that's usually a strategy not to do it.
Now, at this point, like I said, we'll look into,
But what is the reason not to do it? What could you possibly have? Why not set aside an evening or a morning? I'll give you my show here for an hour if you want to do it here, although this is probably not the best venue for you. But why wouldn't you want to do it unless you're afraid to debate them?
Absolutely not.
So why not debate them then?
Like I said, we'll look into it.
What does that mean, look into? You've been looking into it for months.
I'll confer with my
I mean, doesn't that sound wussy for a sheriff? A guy's going to be a sheriff. He's afraid to, he won't debate his opponent?
No, absolutely not.
Then why? How would you feel about a candidate if you were trying to make up your mind between two candidates and one wouldn't debate the other? Wouldn't you feel badly about that candidate? Shouldn't the public have a right to expect a debate?
Like I said, with what I'm talking about is my schedule doesn't permit that. Up until September 10th, I am out.
Who is possibly booked up for 2 weeks without a little window? Give the guy a half an hour. He may turn you down, but at least say I can do it at 11 o'clock at night next Tuesday evening.
Fred, I'm out walking day and night.
All right. Mike Zurlo, thank you for coming in. I can't, that's one I cannot believe. But listen, thank you for coming in. Good luck. Not easy to be in the political arena. I know that. And it'll be interesting to see what the results are.